The only reason why I started working out in the first place is because I wanted to get abs. I thought abs were the ultimate symbol of an aesthetic body, and at the time, my primary focus was looking good in a bikini and having an aesthetic body. Now, this isn't why I continued training and working out, but it's definitely what got me in the door, and I think there's something to be said about that. In this video, we're going to debunk the most common myth when it comes to getting abs, and I'm going to give you the exact blueprint you should follow so that you can finally get them. Myth: abs are built in the kitchen. When I first started my journey to get abs, like most people, I turned to Google and YouTube. I scoured the internet. I went through every Reddit thread, through every WikiHow, through every YouTube video to find the secret to getting abs. And to my surprise, there was no secret. But the one common thread was that abs are built in the kitchen. So I was just starting out. I listened and I followed suit. I focused the next several months on my diet. I created a calorie deficit and I started dieting down. I didn't focus much on training, to be honest, because the goal was fat loss and I was told just focus on the kitchen, just focus on what you're putting into your body. And so that's where all of my attention went. And after several long months, I was disappointed to realize I lost the weight, but I still didn't have abs. At this time, I was in college, and so I definitely gained the freshman 15 and potentially even like a sophomore 17 or something like that. But I did lose weight, so I was happy that I was thinner because that's my preferred aesthetic. But again, I was so confused. I'm like, I've been doing what I was told to do. I've been focusing on the kitchen. Abs are built in the kitchen, but I still don't have abs. I remember going to the bathroom and literally trying to like pull down the remaining layer of fat on my stomach to try and see if like abs were even there. So I couldn't help but feel like, where did I go wrong? What did I miss? What are people not telling me? So I spent the next several months research and development, if you will, trying to figure out where I went wrong. I finally realized, thankfully, I'll save you the amount of time it took me to figure this out and I'll just give it to you, that abs are not built in the kitchen. Abs are built in the gym and revealed in the kitchen. So I realized the reason I didn't have abs was because I didn't have abs. There was no muscle development there. There was nothing to reveal in the first place. You can't reveal what's not there. I realized that I had never spent time actually hypertrophying my abs because I was told in so many of these videos and articles that you don't need to train your abs and that compound movements were enough to train your abs. There was no need for direct work. And I'm here to tell you that that is wrong. You have to build the muscle group, right? If someone wanted to grow their quads, for example, would you tell them to do wall sits to do that? No, you would tell them that they should probably squat or do leg extensions. You need to take the muscle through a full range of motion. You need to have a concentric moment and an eccentric moment. Why are we treating the ab muscles, the abdominal muscles, any differently? And I'm just talking strictly aesthetics here. I'm not even talking about the benefit of training your core for improved athleticism or to alleviate that lower back pain, right? There's other reasons why you should train your core directly, your abs directly. But when we're speaking about aesthetics strictly, it would only make sense to hypertrophy your abs so that one, there was actually something to reveal in the first place, and two, so you don't have to diet all the way down to crazy levels of body fat just to see your abs, because who wants to eat that little for some abs? Like, the reason why I started researching, the reason why I stopped dieting down was because I'm like, how little could I eat? How much more could I cut my calories to see my abs? It just wasn't worth it to me. So that is really what inspired me to figure out another method, another way to be able to see my abs. Your abs are no different than any other muscle group. You want to take them through an eccentric movement, a concentric moment. You want to take them through a full range of motion. You want to progressively overload. You want to train them frequently. The same thing you would do to grow your chest or your biceps or your glutes or your quads is the same thing you want to do to grow your abs. The blueprint is divided into two parts. The first is the gym, and the second is the kitchen. I'm gonna share with you 3 of my favorite ab exercises when it comes to hypertrophying them. Again, the goal of this video is purely aesthetic. I'm not talking about the athletic benefits of training your core as a whole, perhaps even throwing in some lateral flexion and rotation. We are just talking about building the abs for aesthetic purposes. So these are the artificial muscles 4-pack, the 6-pack, and for some of y'all, an 8-pack. The first exercise is going to be a reverse crunch. I like doing these on a bench because I'm able to throw my arms back, pull myself into the bench, and keep my lower back driving into the bench. When it comes to these movements, I want you to remember that your strength is shown through control. So I do not want to see you wailing around and trying to get through as many reps as possible in the shortest amount of time. This is not about speed. This is about control. This movement is going to primarily target your lower abs. As you're doing it, I want you to posteriorly tilt your pelvis, drive your lower back into the bench, and think about bringing your knees up instead of bringing them back. As you come back down, again, think about control. The second movement, and this is absolutely one of my favorites, is the standing cable crunch. I could never figure out the kneeling cable crunch. I just can't ever feel it. Perhaps I'm not doing it right, but this one works for me. Because you're using a cable machine and because you're standing, you're actually able to go a little heavier and work in a lower rep range. I like to perform a few sets of 8 to 10 reps and then do a final burnout set of as many reps as I can. Again, think about control. Focus on moving each vertebrae of your spine as you crunch down. Pause at the bottom and slowly come back up, almost as if you're resisting on the way back up as well. Slow and controlled, don't use any momentum or you're not going to be working your abs. You're just going to be swaying back and forth. The final exercise is an ab roller. I like using a barbell because it allows me to load up the movement, but if you just have access to an ab roller, that works fine. Depending on if you're using a roller or if you're using a barbell, will depend on what rep range you should work in. If you're using a barbell, you're able to work in a lower rep range. If you're using an ab roller, you might be able to work in a higher rep range. I like to think of ab rollers as a marriage between planks and crunches. So I love them. So you're gonna start the movement kneeling, of course, and you're gonna use the cat position of cat-cow. You're gonna move your shoulders down away from your ears, lock them in with your lats, and you're gonna tuck your pelvis posteriorly. So your back should be very, very rounded. As you extend forward, I want you to think about keeping your pelvis tucked. So don't let your lower back arch as you extend. If you feel like you're about to lose that tension, come right back, and that's when you're gonna crunch. So don't extend further than you can control. And as you're crunching back, I want you to really focus on actually crunching back and not using your hips to sway you back. I promise you, if you've never done these correctly, if you've never done them the way I just explained, they will hurt. In a good way, in a good way. In terms of frequency, I suggest you train your abs at least 3 days per week. You can mess with a light, moderate, heavy day. So the light day, you can focus on bodyweight movements like the ab roller or the reverse crunch and work in a higher rep range. On the moderate day, you can use a loaded exercise like the cable crunch and you can work in the 10 to 15 rep range. And on the heavy day, you can work in the 8 to 10 rep range. Again, just like any muscle group, you want to work in all rep ranges because they're gonna work and train different muscle fibers. So don't fall into that trap of thinking, well, I wanna grow my abs, I'm just gonna do a bunch of crunches and sit-ups. No, load it up. Make sure you're progressively overloading. So over time, you wanna slow down the tempo, add some reps, add some weight, add some sets, whichever method you choose, you just want to progressively overload consistently. It won't be a linear process because progress never is, but you should have the intention every session, every week to improve somehow, some way. I promise you, if you include these 3 exercises, your abs will grow. Just stick to it. If you're still unsure where to start when it comes to writing this program out, I have a free 4-day guide called Abs Are Built in the Gym, and I'll put the link below so you can download it. Next, we're gonna move into the kitchen. So we know in order to lose body fat, we have to be in a what? A calorie deficit. And how you choose to create that calorie deficit is up to you, your preferences, your lifestyle. I'm just gonna share with you what works for me and what's worked with my clients. In terms of ensuring you're in a calorie deficit, you can take the calorie counting route. If you don't wanna take that route, the tool I like to use is fasting. It's just a very simple and accessible way to reduce my calories and ensure that I'm not overeating. I suggest you start with a 16-8 fasting protocol. So that means you fast for 16 hours and you have an 8-hour eating window. If you want to get even leaner or feel like you need to get even leaner, you can progress to an 18-6 fasting protocol. So you have an 18-hour fasting window and a 6-hour eating window. Another simple way to reduce your caloric intake without having to think about fasting or tracking your calories is to add. So instead of thinking subtract, think about add. Add protein, add fruits, add vegetables, fiber, and add water. By the sheer volume, increase in volume of food you're going to be eating, you are going to be full well before you hit your maintenance calories. So do that for a few weeks and I promise you, you probably will lose weight. Once you feel like your weight has stalled, then you can go into subtracting. So taking out the obvious things, the junk food, the cookies, the ice cream, the chips, the candy, etc., etc. But if you add first, I think you'll be surprised at how much body fat you're able to shed just using those simple tips. All right, that's all you have to do. If you want to see your abs, first you have to grow them and then you have to diet down. But guess what? Because you grew them first, you're not going to need to diet down as much as you would have if you never grew them in the first place. Because again, you can't reveal what's not there. Abs are built in the gym and they are revealed in the kitchen. Use these tips, use these exercises to help you along this process. Just stay consistent with it because I promise it works. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It helps more than you know. And let me know what you want to see in the next video. Holla!